Hello, Puny Podians. This is current day Ryan, or maybe slightly past Ryan, depending on when you're listening to this, what episode it's on the front of. Anyway, David and I have decided that we wanted to share with you some of our favorite content that we make. Our super secret spoiler show. These episodes are typically released via the Ears Up Patreon. However, we figured we're past the Infinity Saga. We might as well grab some of those Pym particles, run through the quantum realm, and release these super fun episodes from the past. A few notes before the episode starts. First, we don't have a language filter in these episodes, so Cap, cover your ears. Secondly, as the name implies, these have spoilers for everything up to and including any current releases at the time of recording. One last note, these were recorded about 2 years ago, and they undergo very, very little editing. In fact, the sound quality will kind of be what it is, and you'll kind of hear it change over time as I learn and change. Also, things we say might be a little bit out of date. We don't have Doctor Strange's time stone to be able to go back in time and correct ourselves and know the future. Anyway, I hope that you guys all enjoy this nonsense. And if you want to get these less than 2 years from when we record them, go join the Ears Up Patreon. The link is in the show notes as always. Enjoy the episode.
Thanks for visiting the TVA.
Oh boy. You ready for this? Theme song time.
I'm not ready.
It's the super secret spoiler show, the super secret spoiler show. It's super secret. It's a spoilery secret super show, a spoilery secret super show. It's secret, super. We've always wanted to chat about the MCU. We've always wanted to spoil Marvel movies for you, so listen to us as we start to nerd out. You'll learn some things you know nothing about. Go grab a beer, lend us an ear. Won't you check our show out?
Wow. Shit.
I
Wow.
could not. I struggled to get the timing right.
Timing's
clearly.
off. My timing's way off.
But yeah, you're welcome. You officially now have a full parody of the Mr. Rogers theme
Oh
song.
my god, that's wild. Thank you, man. Between that and JR's new intro show music, we're big time. I think we're going to. I think this week we crack top 10 Apple Podcasts. I think this is the week. We're at number. I checked. We're at 11.
Oh, okay.
We need more votes.
Need all the votes. Yeah. Oh man. Oh, what's up, everybody? This is the Puny Pod super secret spoiler show. We're gonna be discussing all the spoilers and probably have the longest facial hair ranking, maybe of the whole MCU. Here for Thor, the 2011 original one. By the way, finding that was the biggest pain in the ass. Finding research on this. The movie was easy, right? It was on Disney Plus, but trying to research Thor, because usually I type in movie trivia, whatever, Iron Man trivia, and that was kind of hard. But Thor, man, I was getting so much trivia about both the Marvel side and the Norse side.
The comics for everything, sure.
Yeah.
No, it was as we talked about in the main show, it had been a minute since I'd seen it. So, like you, I want to do some prep. Want to be prepared. Want to have some interesting observations. And there's a lot out there. So I can empathize with your search.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, before we get too far into it, let's crack open some beers. I will let you go first. What you drinking?
I'm drinking by Ghost Town Brewing, which is a local Oakland brewery. Nice. I'm drinking IPA. It is the Hammer Smash Simcoe. Nice. It is an IPA. It is 6.7% alcohol by volume. I was pretty happy to find this. There's a local tap room that I like to go to buy beers. And originally I found another beer which had a pretty good name, but it was like a weird beer. I was like, oh man, I don't really want to drink like a mango sour. Like, it's got a great name, but like, let me just keep looking. And to get to the very last can, I'm like, Hammer Smash. Perfect. That's what I'm drinking. How about you?
Nice. I am drinking out of Fargo, North Dakota, from Drecker Brewing, which Drecker makes a lot of like really hypey type beers. They if you get around brewing long enough, you'll probably have heard of Drecker.
Okay.
So this is a lactose double IPA coming in at a whopping 8% alcohol. It is from their Valhalla series, and it's called Odin is My Overlord. It's got some pretty sweet can art too. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's going to be a name that's going to be hard to top. Mine is just has the word hammer and smash in it. Not as good.
That's fair. Yeah. So, cheers, sir. I'm going to give this one a shot. Let's see how it goes. Wow. That's incredible. It's got like all the citrus notes. It's like super citrusy. The lactose comes through, smoothing it out a little bit. And like not a whole lot of hop notes for a double IPA. That's kind of surprising. But it's like that's a really good beer. Holy cow!
It's gonna sneak up on you.
Yeah, it is. It is absolutely gonna sneak up on me, and that's
why you limit yourself just to 4, man. Don't do 6, just do 4. You'll be fine. First meeting's not till 8:00 tomorrow. It's cool. Okay.
Oh man. Well, just so that I guess we keep pulling back this curtain, so I'm just gonna put it right on out there. We are recording this a couple days after recording the main show, so a couple days removed here. I've discovered a new fun game that I think I'm gonna play whenever we're recording on a weeknight. I put Ted to bed tonight, and we read a Thor story tonight.
Aww.
Yeah, it was pretty fantastic. It was Thor fighting Loki on the Isle of Silence, and it was the comic continuity. So Thor was in his Dr. Donald Blake alter ego to start the story off, which I was like, hey, that's fun. And kind of ties into what we talked about in the episode.
That's cool. Very fun.
Yep. All right. Gotta
start him young. I said, gotta start him young.
Yep. Yeah. Ted is he's either gonna hate the MCU or he's gonna love it, and I don't think there's any in between.
Yeah, I just hope he doesn't veer off and like, oh man, Dad, really into the DC. Like, really? Because I got a whole podcast that's really more focused on the other one. So if you're really just going to divert over here. So we are Ryan and David. This is our super secret show where we dive into some of the stuff we can't cover in the main show because we don't want to get too spoilery. We also run out of time, and so we figured this is a good time to tuck in more info and spoil some stuff, focus on what we saw in this movie, which leads to other movies, and just other kind of general observations that we don't want to necessarily for folks who have yet to watch for the movies in the MCU.
I love that you say we ran out of time. Because so we decided to split out our news segment from our main show because we're like, you know what? 2-hour episodes every month. That's so much. There's no way, maybe it'll help our listeners if we're releasing some shorter episodes.
Tight podcast. This is gonna be tight.
Yep. A nice tight podcast. And what's the first episode where we have no news? It's Thor, which I didn't think we had. I honestly went into this thinking we had maybe an hour at the most. I figured we were going to struggle for content on this one. And we go 2 hours without news. So
I blame it on Rob. Yeah, blame it on Rob. Right.
Exactly. It's those damn Star Wars guys.
God damn it, Rob. So let's get into let's get a little bit into the movie. I think there are a lot of the thing I noticed on rewatching this, there were a few things that kind of jumped out at me. I want to get your kind of thought. The one, as I said before, the enjoyment delta between from the first time I watched and the rewatch for this one was probably the highest. So I was excited. I think I've still got like Dark World and Love and Thunder kind of like dampening some of my enthusiasm for some of these, but movie was really good. I thought they do a really good job of balancing like the action and the exposition and humor and like making this character, a god, very relatable. And I might even go so far as to say like might be maybe the best. I don't know. It's not going to be the best standalone in phase one, but it's really good. It's a very good movie.
Yeah, it's super good. And in the main show, we talked about our rankings. And you were somewhat surprised with putting it in the top when I put it in the top third. And who knows, it may fall out of there. But I do think, and not that there's a whole lot of stiff competition, right? Well, there is stiff competition. But the first phase being Iron Man 2, Incredible Hulk, Thor, Captain America, First Avenger, and then Avengers, Marvel's The Avengers, if you will. I think Thor is top 3 out of those 6, which I get it, that's top half, but I would definitely put it in top 3, maybe even top 2. No, I can't put it in top 2. That's foolish because I still have Avengers and Iron Man 1 in there somewhere. So
yeah, but still, like we're getting the thing. So the thing about this movie, the MCU continues to hit its stride. Did a great job in casting. We talked in the main show about how Chris Hemsworth wasn't necessarily the first choice, right? Mm-hmm. But they nailed that. They nailed Loki, and we've seen those characters throughout the MCU movies, TV shows. It's hard to imagine other actors playing those roles at this point in time.
Yeah.
And
is there a character other than Loki who has been as frequently a major player in the MCU?
Fury?
I guess that's, yeah.
But not as forefront.
Yeah, not as like in front of the camera, like definitely more behind the scenes kind of thing.
Probably not. Thor, Avengers, Loki series, rumored to maybe be the lead at the Avengers. Then when we start getting around to it in the future, it's hard to imagine someone else other than Tom Hiddleston playing him.
Oh yeah, other than maybe Matt Damon, but
oh Jesus Christ.
No, we'll get that in.
We're not there yet.
Yeah, not quite there yet.
So let's talk about some of the things. I'm kind of eager to talk about things that you might have spotted in the movie that we didn't talk on the main show. You're like, oh, here's a little pin for the future, right? One of the big ones in my mind was obviously the Tesseract, right? It's the
yes.
Right. So the Norwegian village Tonsberg, which I didn't even realize is the same one that we start out the next movie in.
Yep. Yeah, it's where Red Skull is coming in to get a hold of the Tesseract. And again, I said this during the main show. I remember people like losing their mind when they called the Tesseract in Captain America, because it's very clearly based on the cosmic cubes, which are a comic thing, and they're not a Infinity Stone. And so I remember people being actually like legitimately angry about that, but yeah, it is interesting to see them. Like, I think that's one of the first, not one of the first, but I think that's one of maybe the grandest departures from the comics that we really saw thus far in the MCU, is just like, hey, we're going to kind of create this new thing, this Tesseract.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I thought, and also like they're looking at the Norwegian book, or the book on like Norway mythology, and there's Odin walk on a bridge, Tesseract in one hand. Like, little spoiler alert there for you, Selvig. Like, there's your answer. What else did you notice in this movie on rewatch that kind of struck out? You was like, oh, I didn't notice it on first watch, or that relates to the future stuff.
Yeah, so one thing I noticed, and actually Lisa called this out to me first, but it's super true. One of the interesting things is in the Frost Giant attack, one of the people in Asgard who's hurt is Frigga, right? The Frost Giants go in, they like cast her aside to get to Odin, in the process hurting her. Which is really interesting now, knowing the relationship that we have developed and the strength of the relationship between Loki and Frigga, that like Loki's grand master plan would include his mom, who he cares about, I think arguably more than anyone else in his family, getting hurt. And so, you know, I think it was probably just that wasn't a character detail that was fleshed out yet, but it definitely it struck me as odd, you know, watching what we know now of this character, watching that part.
Yeah. I would say that he probably loves his mom the most unconditionally, Frigga, right? And you do get the sense that, I don't know, looking on rewatch is really a fascinating, complex character. And as I said in the main show, he's hard to believe and trust all the way throughout. The only time I got sense to believe him was when he's yelling at someone. He's yelling at Thor, he's yelling at Odin. Those seem to be kind of the moments. But he Tom Hiddleston, I think, did such a fantastic job of translating the character. I understand. I read that he had spent a fair amount of time in the comic books. He had originally auditioned for Thor, didn't get the Thor role. I can't imagine him in Thor, but I can't imagine anyone else but him in his role.
Absolutely.
And I would go so far to say that I'll ask this. We could do a more formal ranking when we get to Captain America, or maybe when we get to Avengers. But of the kind of primary characters that they most nailed, I think number one is Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. I think number two is probably
Liv Tyler as Betty Ross.
Well, I'm sorry. Number one, Liv Tyler, Betty Ross. Number two, the pirate. I'm sorry. Number two is the parrot in Iron Man 2. No, Steve Rogers, Chris Evans is great, but I'd say number three might be Tom Hiddleston as Loki. Like the initial reactions you used to say Chris Hemsworth as Thor, but man, they did they're really fine tuning the casting process and really drilling down and getting the right person each time. And we'll see it in Avengers, and then after that, like they've got the blueprint and they do a fantastic job of every character role.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think that that is the unspoken hero. I mean, I guess it's spoken a little bit, but the unspoken hero of the MCU is casting. Whether it's casting people who know how to keep themselves out of trouble, although that, as of late, that's been brought into question, or casting perfect castings of the main characters. There's definitely some side characters that are miscast. Don't get me wrong. It's not a foolproof system. But even up to recent in the MCU, you look at Kamala Khan, Imani, I can't pronounce her name, but the young woman who played Kamala Khan, she is that character, right? And I think that's something that really shines through in this movie. To bring it back to Thor, is I can't imagine anyone else playing Loki for sure. Like that is Tom Hiddleston to a T. Thor, you could probably get a few other big dumb jocks to play that role. Like that's not, it's not an exclusive role to Chris Hemsworth, but it's a good role for him.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Odin, Anthony Hopkins as Odin is phenomenal. Frigga, I have my feelings about Renee Russo. She is not the best actress in the world. And what I noticed in this movie and the other movie that I have like the most, I won't say fond, but the strongest memory of her poor acting is the movie Tin Cup.
Yeah.
and she does this like, you're 12, it'll be immortal. And then in this movie, when she tried to do the old Englishy accent, it just didn't work. I just don't think she's an accent actor. I don't think that's her skill set.
We could do a separate down the line ranking of MCU accent work. I know Heimdall did a little, it was kind of a little over the map in a couple different points of time. Yeah, Frigga could have been someone else. But at the end of the day, the one thing I did think was kind of interesting is that in casting this role, unlike the last two, where we saw Robert Downey Jr. cast as Iron Man, we saw Edward Norton cast as the Hulk, Chris Hemsworth was kind of like a no-name person, a 25-year-old actor, didn't have a huge resume. And up until that point in time, they were trying to get butts in the seats, and they're trying to get like famous faces, if you will. And there was obviously a very long list, an extremely long list of names that they were trying to put into the role. They finally settled in on Chris Hemsworth after initially being dropped from consideration and given a second chance. But, at one point in time, we're talking Daniel Craig. Daniel Craig is James Bond. Daniel Craig is my height. He's maybe 5'10", 5'11". Him playing Thor would have been a disaster.
Yeah.
So they ended up great. He is filled the role admirably. I hope he sticks around for a period of time. You do get the sense that he and Chris Evans and others are kind of like, all right, man, been there, done that, ready to move on, but we'll see what happens in the next phase.
Yeah, and I know for modern times, Chris Hemsworth, he just had that show that came out on Disney Plus. I haven't watched it yet. It came out through National Geographic.
Yep.
And I understand he found as part of that, he found genetic precursors for what's the word I'm looking for dementia.
Mm-hmm.
And he had kind of given some interviews around the time of that release, basically saying like, this, I'm going to take a step back from acting because this is big news, right? This is, hey, at some point I am not going to be myself. And so I think he, I'll be interested to see how long he sticks around the MCU, because I think he could be done.
Yeah. You are speaking about the series I think is called Limitless.
Yes.
I think
not the one about the pill.
No. Different. That is a different. We might preview that, but we probably will not. No, it's it's National Geographic talks. It's on like aging and this. Excuse me, this series where he talks and he goes through all these different tests and so forth in order to kind of like challenge himself. But it's like secrets of longevity, if you will. And it sounds like the dementia kind of decline in mental facilities is kind of part of that. So it'll be interesting to see. I have it tagged to watch. They're pretty long. They look pretty interesting. He is an entertaining actor and speaker. So I will certainly watch those as well. Just a little behind him at Disney Plus. So
I can't blame you.
So other things I noticed in this one, which I didn't think about at the time, Odin losing the eye, right? Mm-hmm. Reminiscent of Thor losing his eye to Hela in Thor Ragnarok, the very kind of famous scene. The moment I saw it, I was like, oh shit, I didn't remember that at all. But you later see him in his like eye patch. So I thought it was a fun little nod.
Yeah, it was to get to see the battle where it happened. It was cool.
Yeah. I thought that the going to the cast elements, Hopkins, Branagh, Portman, like they're bringing in Academy Award winners at this point in time. What did you think about? We touched about a little bit in the role. What did you think about Natalie Portman as Jane Foster / love interest for Thor?
Yeah, I think what the most interaction I have with Natalie Portman is through the Star Wars series. So obviously seeing her as a love interest there, it kind of clicked over pretty easily for that, but I also recognize that that's not indicative of her body of work as a whole, right? Definitely familiar with like V for Vendetta or some of her other work where she's not necessarily that like just the love interest type of cast, and so I think it worked out for her to be Jane Foster because of Love and Thunder when they finally got around to telling the Mighty Thor story arc. I think she's a great Jane Foster down that road. I think here it feels like you're underutilizing a really great actress at this point.
Yeah. I think it's right. I think it's we didn't talk about it too much. They're telling a pretty tough story. They're telling a story that's half on Earth and half in this mythical world. And to be able to tie them together so it doesn't seem like it's too attenuated, they're not too like separated, if you will, I think is kind of tough. And in a pretty short period of time, you have to build up this kind of interesting chemistry between these two characters, one of whom is not even a human. And I get the sense it's probably not that easy to do in what is effectively little less than 2 hours. An hour 40 minutes when you exclude the credits.
And we talked about this a little bit in the main show. I think this is probably one of the most functional love stories. They did the best job of building it up in a healthy and like meaningful way that we have in the MCU.
Well, number one is Tony and Dummy, the robot.
Yes.
That's number one.
Perfect.
Number two, Whiplash and the Parrot. Number three is this one. So,
that fucking bird, man. Oh my God.
Where's my bird? By the way, I can't wait to the next movie. I'm going to rock out with the German Erskine and the Red Skull German accents. Fucking ready. I've been waiting for this for months. It's the only reason I agreed to do this podcast, so I could break out the bad Hogan's Heroes accents.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I thought that she did a pretty good job. I don't love the final scene where they're kissing and they appear to be the same height. I watched that a couple times, and the whole time I'm like, is she standing on like a truck? Like, because he's 6'4" and she's 5 nothing. And I get there might be a little bit of leaning, but like,
yeah,
it reminded me of when Tom Cruise got married to what was the actress's name, and she's like a good 6 inches taller than him, and they have wedding photos where they're on like against some stairs, and he is on the stair above her and still not eye level. Like, oof, that's not a good look. Anyway, I'm not trying to short shame anyone. Sorry about that. Tom Cruise, love you. Come on the podcast anytime you want. We talked about how you missed out on Iron Man if you want.
Perfect. Yep.
So thoughts on this leading to Captain America? What were your thoughts when you saw the Avenger at the very end where they promote and hint at the Avengers?
Yeah, I think this one, and it's, it makes sense why, because this movie came out, I think, in May of 2011, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
So this one came out in May, and then Captain America came out in
2.5 months later.
Yeah, came out. What was that? January or July, rather?
Don't quote me, but it's like middle July.
Yeah, July 19th. So yeah, it came out in July. So they were filming them concurrently. I'd assume that they were filming them at the same time. So they knew that these two were coming out back to back, right? And this is really the first time that that's happened in the MCU. I mean, I'm sure they knew Thor was coming while they were making Iron Man 2, but like not so close, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think this was an opportunity to really do some of that building and to basically make the first movie, being Thor, a pseudo preview for the next movie that's coming out later that summer, which, if I remember right, trailers were running in front of Thor for Captain America.
I think you're right.
And so, you're in this unique spot where you can really do some world building, and I think they did it really well. It didn't seem shoveled in. It didn't seem hand-fisted. It seemed legitimate, and it seemed earned the way that they built it in. How about you?
I remember at the time, even when I'm watching it again this time, the Thor will appear next. You'll see Thor next to the Avengers. I got goosebumps even just watching it this last time, because I love the Avengers movie and I loved how everything built towards it.
I stole that trope for our closing line.
I know.
I love it.
It's like, that's all. Like, as a nerdy kid growing up in Oakland reading Avengers and X-Men comics, that's all I fucking wanted, was an Avengers movie. And growing up, you had Hulk TV show, which is it's okay. Like, I mean, I don't hate on Bill Bixby. I don't hate on Lou Ferrigno. It's okay. I mean, that's all you have. That's the best you have. Great, I'll take it. But we lived through. I've seen some shitty Captain America in the 70s and 80s. They had as I mentioned in the main show, the Hulk TV movies, which had a little Thor, had a little Daredevil. That's the best you had. So the fact that I was going to see all these characters like on the screen, 3-dimensional. It's not even a cartoon. I'm going to see like live action. I was so excited for it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, and I think it I remember getting excited about it, at that time, and definitely still get those, like you said, goosebumps, just that, like, okay. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm excited for this rewatch, man. I'm excited for us to get to Avengers, and we're arguably past the worst of the MCU, with like
ooh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I say arguably because it's funny, all these times during the main show and even here where you talked about Love and Thunder. I loved Love and Thunder, but I also love that like stupid silly stuff, and I recognize that's what Love and Thunder was.
Yeah, I think so, listener, and God bless anyone who's listening at minute 30 of this show. But between me and you, I promise you that the Avengers podcast will not exceed 3 hours. I promise you. Like, we, just so you know, Ryan and I have practiced talking at 1.25 speed. So it's going to be so much more content. No, I'm just kidding.
We may have to legitimately 2-part like Avengers movies. Avengers movies might just be like our 2-part releases, and we don't do a news show that month or something. I don't know, but
we're already off the wheels. Yeah, especially if we invite a guest, like those will be extremely long. But there's a lot there. Like it does speak to the element of we used the term before, connected tissue between the MCU movies, and I'm excited to get to the Avengers because we can look back retrospectively and look at Captain America, you can look at Thor, you can look at The Incredible Hulk, you can look at the original Iron Man movies, and you can see all the little things they built there to get to that point. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that all the movies were financial successes, even Captain America, which was one of the worst performing films in the MCU, still made a boatload of money. Once they get to the Avengers, you have to believe they breathed a deep sigh of relief, like, oh, we did it. Like, we landed this plane. We made a ton of money. We recouped whatever we paid for Marvel way back when. And we have a blueprint for going forward in terms of the story, the characters, the dialogue, and then they just kind of blow it out from there. But I'm excited to get there. That is definitely I'm going to have to caffeinate for that episode, because that's going to be a long one.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, let's get back to Thor. Should we move on to some of our games that we like to play in this here secret show?
Please, let's do.
All right. Let's start with your favorite and my favorite. Let's go with who who is Nick Cage in this movie? And David, I'm gonna put you on the spot. I'm gonna have you go first. Who you giving the role? Who are you giving Nick Cage in this one?
Okay, so I have thought about this. I think about this question all the time. I'll be watching a commercial. I'll be watching, I don't know, baseball game. Who do I put Nick Cage in this role? Now, in my mind, Nick Cage might be Noah Syndergaard, pitcher. In this case, well, inside joke.
Pitcher for my Dodgers.
In this movie, man, I struggled a little bit. The easy answer is Loki, right?
Yeah.
Quirky, weird character, can act out of his skin. Doesn't, looks deep, squint, and you can kind of see Tom Hiddleston, with a worst wig. But I think I'm going to go for a lesser role. So I'm not going to choose him. I'm going to choose Dr. Selvig. Just weird doctor, kind of sort of creepy. I could see him chewing the shit out of scenes between him and Natalie Portman. He's probably like, yeah, I know you have an Academy Award. Watch these chops. And then just the whole time through.
I see him as bringing in parts of his National Treasure character into the Selvig performance.
Oh, completely. I could also see him on the set and saying, hey, folks, I've already been in an MCU movie. Have you seen it? Have you seen Ghost Rider? Because I've already done this shit. And here's what I'm bringing here. And so anyway, who would you...
Man, that kills me. So I didn't even think of that when the news came out that that Nick Cage was saying he didn't need the MCU for his career, blah blah blah. He was in a Marvel movie.
He was in a Marvel movie.
Like, Nick, you did it.
I'm sure he has tried for years to edit that out of his IMDb. It's going to be too hard to do. Who would you cast as our favorite Nicolas Cage in this movie?
Selvig's a good choice. Selvig was one that was top of my list. I think I would go. I'd go. So there, I had one answer, and then literally as I was starting to say it, I came up with a different one.
Say them both.
So the new one that I thought of is Volstagg.
Okay.
Just that goofy, especially the "you will not mistake my appetite for apathy" line. I could see some delivery there. I think that's one of those characters that's already like Cage adjacent. So it was a pretty easy click in, right? The character already had a lot of Cage features.
Okay.
The other one that I would say, and I would hate to lose the actor who is in this role from the MCU, because I think she is so fantastic, is bringing him in as a male version of Darcy.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Frigga. Shit. That's not her. Darcy would be good too.
Yeah, I think Nick Cage is like the and just like unabashedly casting him at his current age as a student. I think would just be fantastic.
Or we bring in Martin, what's his name, from Incredible Hulk, and make him the Darcy character.
Martin Starr.
Yeah. The other one I thought of, just for a moment, I thought of Heimdall, because I know that he'd be super pissed. He only has like 12 lines in the movie. But for those 12 lines, he is going to chew that shit up, and he is going to bring everything. And he's going to bring his own Heimdall costume. He's going to show up for fitting. He's like, no, I've brought my own.
And it happens to just be a painted Superman costume.
It's either a painted Superman costume, or he had one made of actual gold because he's got a ton of money. Anyway. All right. So Another very important question, and this might pose one of the more difficult rankings of the MCU facial hair rankings, because we have a number of characters. In fact, we have so many that I don't know that we could rank them all because there are too many. I'm going to give you 4.
Okay.
And I want you to rank them and maybe a little bit as to why you rank them. So the 4, in no particular order, I will go in alphabetical order. Heimdall, Odin, Thor, Volstagg. What is your facial hair ranking of those 4 gentlemen?
So, and I don't think this is going to surprise literally anyone. I think I talked about this in the main show, if memory serves. Definitely hard number 1 is going to Volstagg. That I do think it was a fake beard. Going and watching it, it might have been. That much beard takes a lot. That's about how much beard I have right now. And this is about 18 months worth of beard.
Do you think he might have used a beer steroid?
He might have. I got the nickname at work of Beardroids for a while because I was.
Wait, what? Hold on. Yeah. Pause. Wait a second. I'm sorry. We have to rewind the tape. What's this?
So I was taking. I take them on and off still. I was taking supplements for my beard, like vitamins to help with hair growth and that sort of thing. So it was during my competitive bearding days. Yes, I was seeking an advantage. But really, I was just looking for a fuller beard. I wanted a fuller beard. And the funny thing about this is I was talking to a nutritionist friend of mine about this, and he took a look at the pill bottle. He looked at the ingredients, and he looked at the makeup of this vitamin. He's like, this is a repackaged prenatal vitamin, right?
Oh, I thought he was going to say ivermectin.
No.
Not ivermectin?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's good.
Still was susceptible to the vid. No. So now the funny thing is, I take prenatal vitamins when I want to fill out my beard a little bit, which is really funny because before my wife was ever pregnant with Teddy, I was taking prenatal vitamins, and we always had to make sure, because in our old apartment, it was a one bathroom apartment. So we had to make sure that was my prenatal vitamins were put away so we didn't spoof the parents or anything. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. That's an amazing story. Okay. So Heimdall, clear number 1, big gap. Who's your number 2?
Yeah, so Volstagg number 1.
Sorry. Volstagg number 1. Sorry.
I would say. Let's see here. I gotta look up because Heimdall has a very trimmed. During this one, it's very trimmed.
This one, we're just judging this one.
Yeah. And then.
I think Heimdall might be 4. That's just about what he showed up with. After, a day of shooting. Yeah, it's fine. Whatever.
I would put Odin number 2. He's got a good, kind of the bulbous, with a different costume, he'd be Santa Claus.
Oh, totally.
He's got that white beard, which white beards look really good. I'm excited to go white, honestly. And then I would actually go Heimdall, then Thor. Thor's is more stubbly in this one. There's just not a lot of heft to it right now.
Yeah.
I think both those because I've seen Idris Elba with a beard a lot. That's kind of his standard look. I think both Thor and Heimdall, they showed up to set that day having not shaven, and that's just kind of what they were.
I will also penalize Chris Hemsworth for the dyed blonde eyebrows, so that puts him in 4th. If we were talking about hefty Thor in the later movies, when he's drinking beer and playing video games with Korg and so forth, that might be high ranking, but fair enough.
There's Thor right here. Got the pop vinyl of Bro Thor
Nice.
rocking his pizza and shirtless look. Um, yeah, I think. Plus, we have to penalize him because, my old roommate would kill me if I didn't mention this every time we talked about Thor's beard. He wasn't king, so he can't have a beard yet. He only gets his beard when he becomes king.
So Thor disqualified. So not even in the top 4. Sorry.
I will say, one that you didn't put in the top list there, Fandrel's goatee is actually a pretty good one, actually.
He did I really liked the character on rewatch. Did a very good what's the word I'm looking for? Like a very good Errol Flynn, like he kind of evoked that kind of character, which on rewatch I enjoyed quite a bit more. Side comment, I thought it'd be really cool if they would just do some like a Disney Plus on like Sif and the Warrior 3. Just
absolutely
do those characters. You don't need a lot in CGI. That'd be so much fucking fun.
It'd be so cool. Sif got a little bit of time. She had a little bit of time on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which isn't even canon anymore, apparently. And like I'm glad she got that. We got to see some cool Sif stuff in Loki. But we just didn't get enough of the Warriors 3, I don't think. I they're so fun, and I think that's one of the biggest missed opportunities from the MCU first phase here is there's two groups of side characters that didn't really get a chance to shine like I think they could have, which one is the Warriors 3. Would be great, like even as a special, they've branched off into this special realm now with Werewolf by Night, where they're telling like a hour-long story, not quite a full feature length. That'd be great. I would love to see even more of that, but and then also Dum Dum Dugan and the Howling Commandos in Captain America. You get a little bit of them in Agent Carter, but that again isn't canon anymore. But it would be great to see like a Howling Commandos show. That would be super fun.
Yeah, that would be fun to do. I don't know. I know Loki season 2 probably will not have Sif and the Warrior 3, but that would be a very, very cool thing to see, right? And as much as some of the MCU Disney Plus shows, some have been fantastic, some have been great, some have been kind of middling. It's a nice vehicle to like spend some time on those characters. I think they're doing a really good job on the Star Wars side. I would love to see. I mean, again, I'm the greedy for anything MCU, so I'd be happy with anything that they put out. And while I was not growing up a huge Thor comic book fan, I really enjoyed these characters in the movie and would love to see them just tell their tales, like see them on their exploits. Watch them fights across the galaxy. They did it for the Bad Batch. Jesus Christ, let's get something for Sif and the Warrior 3.
Absolutely. Yeah, actually thinking about that, even to modern, is that one of the biggest, I don't want to say struggles probably overstates the comment, but is that one of the biggest misses of the MCU is introducing really interesting auxiliary groups and then just doing nothing with them? Because you said Warriors 3, I mentioned
Dum Dum Dugan
and the Howling Commandos.
Yep.
The Illuminati when we get to when we get all the way down to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. In She-Hulk, we got the Wrecking Crew, which really you wouldn't even know they were the Wrecking Crew unless you knew what you were watching. I think like, and I can see, logistically that's hard, right? Like most of these are made up of really strong actors who have other schedules and who are going to be expensive to produce whole films of, or whole series with.
Yep.
But I think that, to me, that might be one of the biggest misses just on the MCU as a whole. If you look at just their weak points, I think it is introducing these really phenomenal groups and then just not playing them out.
Well, maybe one thing we could do as we go through the movies, or just kind of to identify and tag some of them, and maybe spend a little bit of time going back to the comics and making a point of why these characters are important. I think for the most part, we see them in movies to prop up the main characters. We're all interested in Thor, in Captain America, in Iron Man, et cetera, et cetera. But in the comics, these characters have this huge run, and there's this huge depth there that it's going to be almost impossible to replicate in a digital format, because there's so much story there. But to be able to say, hey, let's take, like you're saying, let's take this side character, let's take this ancillary group and spend some time and branch out and just tell another story. Well, I think that'd be great. And I think that they'll do that. I think that, we talked a little bit, like MCU's going through a little transition. Disney's going through a transition. Who's going to head stuff up creatively? What's Kevin Feige's future? Is he going to do Star Wars or not? Is he going to stay with the MCU or not? Like, is the whole quantum mania, is that going to work or not? Like, there's a lot of TBD coming up here, but hopefully there are people on the creative side that are willing and interesting to tell these stories. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah. We created a bunch of really good content when we weren't recording on Sunday. And so I'm going to try and recreate a little bit of it here. Let's see if we can capture this lightning in a bottle again.
Oh boy.
So we were talking a little bit about that with, as I smack my knee on my desk. Sorry, listeners. But we talked, what we were talking about is the direction of the MCU and where does the MCU end up. And so what I want to, and this is probably our closing segment here for the Secret Show, for this episode. But what I want to do is I want to put on record, now this is behind a paywall, so we can still, only the people who pay to listen to us get to hear this, hear us make these calls. But to put it on record, what is your prediction for where the MCU goes from 2024 and beyond, right? So in 2023, to set the stage a little bit, if you're going back and listening to this in back catalog, Jonathan Majors stuff aside, I don't want to touch that. There's some stuff going on with Jonathan Majors right now. Those of you who are interested can go back and look at it.
We are right now, we have just seen 2 movies in the last phase, right?
Yep.
Right? Saw Ant-Man, Quantumania, right?
Yep.
Was the most recent one. And your question is, where does Marvel go from here in the future?
Yep. It is. Yeah. And you can approach that from a story standpoint. You can approach that from a success standpoint, whatever.
Okay, so I think, okay, so, I mean, this could be an hour-long discussion, but I think that now that we are post-pandemic, spoiler alert, we were in a large global pandemic, which prohibited, for the most part, viewing of movies inside movie theaters. I think that Marvel will switch back to the moneymakers, which are putting movies into theaters. And while it costs more money, and I realized why they did it for Disney Plus, they did it for financial reasons, they did it for COVID reasons. These movies make a ton of money, so they're going to move for the blockbusters. So if the Quantumania stuff, if the Multiverse of Madness, if the branch chain realities, if the Kang stuff, if that's just too weird, they're going to go back to the hits. right?
Yeah.
And that means Iron Man 4 with Robert Downey Jr. That's going to mean like Chris Evans comes back and he's middle-aged Captain America and he's, fighting whomever, if you will. They will go back to the hits. They will bring back the band. They will open up the cash trucks, and in order to kind of get people back, that will feed Disney Plus, because all these they will figure out the financial model of how to monetize on Disney Plus as opposed to like free streaming. So maybe after it's been in a theater for 6 weeks, you could watch it at home, and it's $40 to own, and you could get that and extra commentary, and Chris Chris Hemsworth will show up at your house and leave an answering machine message or whatever, right? They'll figure out how to monetize it. I think that Feige will eventually move on to a larger role in the MCU. He'll hand it out. I don't think he's going to abandon it and leave. I don't think he's going to switch over to the DCEU or something else. And I think that he will eventually I think he will take over the Star Wars stuff and maybe be like the chief creative officer. Not that that exists, but like the whoever it is right now who's responsible for all the MCU and the Disney stuff. I think he'll take that role. How about you?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think they're at a very lucrative spot with the multiverse stuff. It is weird, and I do think there stands a very good chance of some of the future plans with it getting abandoned, because it is too weird for general audiences, and it's not performing the way that the MCU is expected to perform, which is to be expected. These stories are weird. The comics were weird. Not everybody clicked with these stories. That was the idea. The problem is the MCU, and the other thing at play here is Disney and its financial issues, right? Disney has its own set of financial issues that they're still making money hand over freaking fist, but they're struggling, right? Well, at least Wall Street says they're struggling. And so I do agree. I do think that they go back to the hits, but I don't know that it looks like Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man.
So alternatively, you go back to the hits, but you maybe go back to the untold hits. In Phase 6, get ready for the mutants. Get ready for the X-Men. Get ready for Fantastic Four. Get ready for all that stuff. Still could be grounded in the current universe. They have that card up their sleeve of the X-Men that people are pining for, which I think would be a huge seller.
And societal pressures are at a place where X-Men stories sell. Stories about civil rights, stories about prejudice and that sort of thing. They are societally relevant right now, and so I think X-Men ushers in the next set. I think you could do a universe reset, and they might. This would be a bit of a risk, but if they have the right casting in place to do Iron Man 1 again, but this time with not Robert Downey Jr., right? I think with the multiverse in play, a reset switch is there, right? The reset switch is built and just ready to be pressed if need be. And so, you bring in new Iron Man, new Thor, new Captain America, because those actors are, aged theoretically out of that role. And maybe you don't bring them back in. Maybe you don't bring those actors back in, because that would get too weird and too disjointed. And again, I don't think audiences are clicking with the multiverse stuff. I love it. I want to put that on record. I absolutely love where we're at, but I understand I'm in the not the minority, but like definitely a shrinking majority of people who enjoy that.
So you're saying movie viewers are dumb? Got it. I'm kidding.
Yes, exactly.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, I look, I love MCU stuff too. In the watching Loki, watching Multiverse of Madness, and even I'm struggling at times to like keep it all straight. So, but I do think they have like, to your point about the reboot. We're going to go back and we're going to tell, Marvel from the whatever time frame. Tell the X-Men stories, tell the Fantastic Four, bring in the Defenders. Like, there's a lot of characters in there that you can bring in that are not that are either uncast or you can recast them because characters age out. Happens all the time, right? And so I do think that there's so much IP there. There's so much character. There's so many stories that as long as they don't completely like screw things up, they'll be fine, right? I think the main part is picking out the visionaries from like a writing and directive side, tying it all together, and having stories which I think people relate to. People are hungry. I remember when Black Widow came out. I'm not a Black Widow fan, but I was excited to see the movie, and you get to see like characters you haven't seen before. And while was it my favorite MCU movie? No, but if you produce it, they will come. If you create it and it's well done and it is a fun story, I do think, to your point, I do think we have to make it a little bit more digestible for the everyday person, because some people haven't read, all the Secret Wars stuff and all the comic books. Right. And they don't understand what the fuck is going on right now. Like, wait, it was this person's dead. How's this person alive? It's a different Iron Man. It's different, Captain America. That's what they have to kind of think about. But I do get the sense they have a challenge, but I think if the existing creatives stay in control, I think we'll be okay. But it will be fascinating to see where we go in the next phase.
Yeah, I agree. And I think for the sake of a lot of universes and for the sake of a lot of creative around the rest of the Disney company, I do hope Kevin Feige finds a place in a higher seat with the Disney company. I've floated his name out there as Bob Iger's next replacement as CEO. I don't know that that's super appropriate. He doesn't know the parks, which the parks are their moneymaker. But I do think like heading up the creative, the film division, which I think is all under one umbrella now. I think it's like films, parks and products, and then ESPN, which I don't think he can head up ESPN. Sorry, Kevin. I don't think he heads up parks and products, but I could see him, heading up the film division, right? So Disney Studios, Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilm, helping all those divisions click the way Marvel has.
Right. Yeah, you can envision, there's the CEO of the parks, the CEO of the content, CEO of the broadcasting stuff. It's ABC, it's ESPN, it's all the other stuff. And then, some figurehead CEO that's basically, Bob Iger / Chat GPT that kind of manages all that stuff. But it'll be interesting to see. Like Feige's, I read a quote, I can't remember, I don't have it off the top of my head. But basically, he's done 30 films. He has spent over 20 years of his life on this stuff. And I don't know, like I've never stayed at a job for 20 years. I can't imagine, I imagine him at some point I was like, hey man, I like to do something other than just, I've been at this burger place for 20 years, made a lot of burgers. Can I just do something else? Right.
Can I make a couple hot dogs? Yeah.
Can I make a goddamn burrito? Jesus Christ. Like,
For sure. Well, I think that's a really great place to close up the episode.
Can I get a goddamn burrito? That's the...
Yeah, exactly. That's our closing. No, but if you've made it this far into the episode, thank you guys so much. Very genuinely, you're paying for this, which, God, if I could imagine people would pay me to talk, I would never have guessed that.
I'm almost the opposite, where I'm just like, this is such a fun project to do. It's great doing it with you. I enjoy watching the movies again. I have so much fun. I almost want to, like, not that I have the money to, but like, you want to listen to us? I would give you money, or
Right?
I would give you. I'm sorry. To be clear, I would give you some of Jason's money. So anyone who sends us an email at punypod@gmail.com, raise a hand. Give us a number between 1 and 10.
PunyPod at earsup-podcast.com.
Sorry, my bad. And then we will give you some of Jason's money.
There we go. Disclaimer: we don't actually have Jason's money to give away.
Jason also doesn't have money either, so it's fine.
But no,
But you get stickers. You'll get like other merch.
We have stickers now. We have. I'll 3D print you a lithopane that I just printed of the podcast logo.
Hell yeah.
We have business cards.
Side note, I don't have any of this stuff. So you are in before me. So you probably taking my spot. And that's fine. Just rate or review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to us. Appreciate everyone who listens.
Yeah. Genuinely, thank you all so much. And yeah, really excited for our next episode, which will be Captain America. That after show should be fun too. Get to talk about toxic patriotism and that sort of stuff. Real fun stuff. But no, no, but thank you everybody for listening this far. If you made it this far, it means you're actually frickin' listening, which I would never have believed would happen. If you made it this far and you like fell asleep for the last hour and a half, whatever it is, and you're waking up right now, go listen to Puny Pod. We're a great MCU show. David just dropped offline, so I'm going to take that as his mic drop. And yeah, we will talk to y'all later.